So let me first start by saying, hey, thanks everyone for taking time out of your lunch. I know you're probably enjoying your lunch right now, and just taking the time to listen to me give this presentation and the speech that around the services that we actually are providing. So thank you for taking the time to do that. To give you a little bit of who we are, and then we were founded back in 2012, solely as a at the time as a cybersecurity firm. Over the I'll say over the past year and a half, we start redefining ourselves to where we're more of an advanced tech company, where we're not only doing cybersecurity, but if you heard us during the previous talks, we're also looking to solve complicated problems on behalf of the government, uh, on behalf of the government, and problems that we see out there using AI and blockchain and different other advanced tech capabilities. But today, what we're here to talk about is the unique problem that's actually faced within the small agencies whenever it comes to meeting these cybersecurity requirements that come your way. We do have current experience across the federal civilian sector, so very aware of the various requirements that come down, to include those that come out of the White House when it comes to improving the nation's security. That greatly affects like how you're able to that greatly affects how you're able to uh, uh, implement your cybersecurity posture. So, as I've been saying, one of the things that we've noticed inside of since we've been in inception and helping out the federal civilian sector, a lot of the times small agencies they kind of go unrecognized, historically very much unrecognized, where you do have a lot of constraints that you're trying to battle. Some of those include things like budgetary constraints. Like we've been in small agencies where because of the single year appropriation, it does make acquiring certain services very difficult. Where you're kind of put in this place where you're not able to really negotiate the best prices or anything on behalf of the federal government, such as a Department of State may be able to do, because they can say, "Hey, I'm looking to get this for X number of years." It does put a challenge onto you. Other things that we notice, it's a lot of things that's coming out for a small agency where uh, a lot of times those IT and cyber experts aren't necessarily there to directly supporting the agency, and you have those individuals that have dual roles. Um, you have those individuals that have dual roles, and cyber may not be the primary thing that they know or understand. So they're trying to keep up with the various requirements such as FISMA reporting, OMB, DHS, White House mandates, as well as your baseline security around ATO and ANA requirements. And then, of course, you have the TIC 3.0, and plenty of other things. The list goes on that you have to try to follow and keep up with. So this is where we actually decided to introduce our product Singularity. Singularity is currently going through the FedRAMP process, which gives a giant benefit to the federal agency, because now you know that you're not only receiving your SOC services, but you have a agnostic capability. You have a tool agnostic capability in order to ensure that you're bringing in all the appropriate logs, all the appropriate events to protect the data, and your operations can continue on as normal. So this would be the product that we're talking around, as well as discussing some of the capabilities when it comes to supporting that incident response process, and the type of views that we make available within the environment to make sure, hey, these services that you're getting is being presented in a proactive fashion and answering to all the various requirements that you, as a federal agency, you have to answer to. And I'm going to take a quick pause right now, and we're going to put up our first poll. Um, within the section, what you'll see is the poll section. If you could just take a quick poll, it's a quick question around: does your agency have a dedicated SOC? So far, we're even with yes, we have the dedicated SOC, and no, it's not currently a priority with 38% of each one. The yeses are starting to take the lead. So I'll let the poll continue to run as we continue forth on the presentation as well. So within Singularity in our small agency package, two of the key functions that we offer out is our 24/7 continuous monitoring and our virtual CISO. Within that continuous monitoring aspect, the direct items that you're able to get is the staff that supports from tier 1 to tier 3 type of capabilities, managed SIM, industry specific knowledge, and then on the virtual CISO side, that's where you're getting all of your direct support with how do I how do I ensure the cybersecurity my cybersecurity is ensuring that my business for my agency is able to continue on. It's directly supporting and enhancing the capabilities that you as an agency was put in place to serve for on behalf of the federal government. What you weren't necessarily likely you wasn't necessarily stood up to keep up with all of the various requirements that do come out of the different places. And as we start to look at what does that workload looks like from where those requirements come from, one of the things that we did, we took a quick look. Hey, what was the recent bods over the years, what did the recent bods look like that agencies actually have to answer to? And that's what you see up in the top. Back in fiscal year 2019, there was 2, 4, 4, and so far 1 this year. However, whenever you really think about it, what I when you really think about it, the workload that actually come from these bots, it didn't really take into account other emergency directives, EOs, and memorandums that come out. So I asked my SOC, I said, for our current customer set in the last year, what were the things that we had to respond to on behalf of that came from DHS, came from OMB, that came out of the White House? And it actually was a lot more than 4. It came down to a total of 8 items, because some of the items were continuations from previous years, where you have to maintain something like let's take the uh, the vulnerability policy that you have to put on your page. That requires you to have somebody that's able to answer to any vulnerability disclosures that's coming inside of your environment, which in turn says it's good to have a SOC to be able to look at that stuff, be able to perform the appropriate analysis. And that's how we were able to support some of our agencies with continuing that type of support whenever it came to that one. In addition to that, uh, we also had a pretty big memorandum and executive order that just recently came out that significantly impacts what small agencies are needing to do. For example, when you look at Memorandum 2131, um, that's directly talking about your how you're performing your log management, where there's a series of things that has to occur over the years in order to ensure that you're getting to a maturity level um, with your log management and being able to respond to certain events that could take place. A breakdown I initially started my conversation off with stating how, hey, over the historically, small agencies have gone unnoticed, and things have been very difficult to put in place, especially with these types of requirements coming out from various locations. As we started working closer with with some of the agencies that we do, one of the things that we noticed that changed drastically over time whenever we I made that statement is that there absolutely was, if there anything that was there, it seemed like it was more on a reporting standpoint. But as time went on, things like the CDM program has matured in a way that it actually directly give you the tools and the capabilities at no cost to the agency to be able to support some of the requirements that are coming out and get you to a compliant state with for CDM portions of the CDM. And as a small agency, a lot of you fall within the purview of that Defend F contract that supports the CDM as a service. However, they are providing a directed service that's providing you some of the tools for some of the CDM requirements. In the pinwheel, you kind of see what that looks like if we were to compare it with the previous requirements that just came out in the last year. Where in the blue, those are the areas that CDM directly help support, given a tool to meet some of the requirements that came out within the bod. But however, the other colors is where we were able to directly add the benefit out of our SOC and our virtual CISO services for small agencies to continue to ensure you cover down on those bods and executive orders in a proactive fashion. So it's definitely there's definitely a there's still a great deal of coverage that needs to be covered down on, even after you utilize some of the free capabilities and tools that's out there that's now being made available to you. And we're going to take a second and we're going to drop a couple more polls here. And as you guys answer the polls, we'll continue forth. We'll continue on with the presentation as they come in, as the answers come in. So Memorandum 2131 is it's a beast of a memorandum, to be frank. That's the one I made mention of, where it's really hitting on how you're collecting your logs and what that maturity level looks like. There's already been some requirements that came out where you needed to answer to certain aspects of the memorandum, such as, hey, are you aware of what's your current maturity look like whenever it comes to log collection for these certain things that reside inside of your environment. And on August 27th of this year, there's additional requirements where your SIM configuration actually needs to be is required to be configured. And to be honest, this is where this SOC as a service, this FedRAMP SOC as a service capability, honestly really shines. Because as you're looking at that process of, hey, how do I get from a crawl state to where I don't know what's being logged right now, or have the logging capability in place to be able to answer to even an event or any of the other requirements, such as insurance, CISO, or FBI can get to the needed data to support me in an incident. I need to get that to a mature fashion of sprinting, where all of these full log orchestration, behavioral monitor, hunting, et cetera, is being conducted. Within our SOC as the FedRAMP SOC as a service capability, and that's offered out directly to the small agencies, all of that is actually covered within that platform. and it's an affordable way that really has that uh, gives a great return on investment that can get you to meeting these memorandums, as well as ensuring that your environment is in a secure fashion. So what does that look like inside of our platform? Inside of our platform, so we're a completely cloud based platform right now, currently, where in order to provide a ease of being able to collect the required logs inside a disparate environment, which really we found to be very handy going into COVID, where some of our customers had to move directly to, like a lot of you actually had to move to working from home. So we did find that, hey, we're able to not only monitor your cloud environments, but also your endpoints, and provide the required EDR services, um, uh, while the personnel is still working from home. Um, in addition to that, what you will see on this slide is pretty much what that logging architecture would look like for the requirements whenever it comes to M2131 and what needs to be collected. As I mentioned, the next deadline is August 27th of this year. By August the 27th of this year, they're looking at, are you collecting your cloud infrastructure log, privilege identities, all of your operating logs from all of your operating systems, email, firewall, network devices, etc. And then shortly after that, you move into your EL1, where you're collecting your EDR, PKI, MTD, and vulnerability configuration uh, data. The thing, the thing to take note here, as you'll see, you'll see a lot of EL0 initially, and then the numbers are starting to dwindle down a little bit as you go from EL0, 1, and 2. That doesn't mean that there's not more work to be conducted at that EL0. A lot of the things that are taking place inside of this memorandum is maturing the logs from the previous maturity level. For example, inside of EL0, you maybe it's just collecting, I believe it's just collecting like your message trace logs, for example. But as you move up, they're looking for you to collect slightly more data to be able to support with additional analysis that is needed to be able to respond to an event appropriately if it came in via email. And then we have a couple more polls that I would like to push out as we move on to the next part of the presentation. Let's see what our last ones look like. Take a So, has your agency found it challenging to keep up with cyber requirements? We got 78% that answered yes, and 22% that answered no. We're on top of it. The this right here really does that the layout of the answer really does it draws light into like some of the things that we're talking about here today, and how that SOC services and the virtual CISO service does directly help out. Um, we one of the things that we've been able to directly find as a benefit, and we'll go over it a little bit more later, is how we structure that team and that SOC that's directly supporting you, to make sure that we're getting at a commodities at scale, commodities at scale solution for answering to your problems. Is your CISO CIO primary role to improve the agency's cyber posture? Got 33% yes, but 56% yes, but they also hold a secondary non-IT role. And then 11% don't have anyone assigned yet. That's another common factor that we've been noticing within across the various agencies that we've been talking with. Uh, and to be frank, it really comes down to that appropriation, the way that funding is appropriated. Small agencies, you have a mission to that you need to be able to focus on, and being able to get the appropriate appropriations to account for it has been troublesome. Although over the years, OMB has been making it a lot, has been putting a focus to, hey, put the line item inside of your budget, inside of your budget, and it's been getting a lot easier to ask for those funds. Has your agency performed the required maturity assessment? Um, we got 75% that actually stated no, they haven't. Um, re, no, they haven't. Which understandable. There's still a lot that there's still a lot that actually a good bit of time that's between now and all this. So what I'd like to do is I'd like to see if I can get a couple of questions as we go into the next part of the presentation. Maybe if anybody wanted to kind of share a little bit of information of what they've been seeing within their agency, and how some of these things, and how some of these requirements have affected them, and some of the solutions that they possibly have put forward. All right. So whenever I look at the feel free. So Alan makes mention that the largest challenge they're having is Alan may mention some of the largest challenges they having is around supply chain risk management and zero trust. You know, um, I'm going to hit on the supply chain risk management portion. I don't like I'm still not seeing I still honestly don't see enough attention really driven towards that like trying to answer to that supply chain risk management. Although there have been certain like different NIST guidances that have been pushed out. A lot of people, uh, I think one of the things that in conversations that I've had, a lot of focus goes towards, hey, these computer parts are the parts themselves, but also realize, hey, part of that supply chain is like us as a vendor ourselves. That's one of the reasons that one of the things that we've done strategic one of the things that we did and looked into is, hey, let's go out, let's get FedRAMP, let's make sure that we're at the forefront of answering the downward risk that as a contractors could introduce into the federal space. Packet level packet level data capture in Azure has been a challenging for us. So yeah, and all that would definitely come down to that structure and architectural diagram. Um, there's been a a humongous shift over the past in the past several years to move in the cloud, and some things just, I mean, to be frank, it still is challenging to get out there. And as you've seen as part of that memorandum, I mean, that's one of the requests that they made, um, hey, how are you getting that packet capture? And as you look towards the packet capture solution, you also need to like how is that being affected by your shift over to TIC 3.0, because that policy enforcement points actually change in conjunction with that. Um, I mean, it's not directly not directly in any of the slides here, but I mean, we just finished a TIC 3.0 assessment for an agency, a small agency, and frankly, it's amazing like the possibilities that are there for cost savings whenever you start looking at how you shift that policy enforcement point. Yeah, yeah, I agree, Alan. I agree, Alan. Splunk does offer a really good capability, a really good capability when it comes to getting that single pane of glass. We're actually partnered. We actually partnered with a really good solution on top of Splunk that goes by the name of Cumulus, that not only helps with getting that pane of glass, but it kind of helps centralize all the required, like how it aligns with your those ATO requirements. Within our SOC as a service offering, we do integrate with Splunk. But one of the things that we've found is Elastic really has been a a contender against Splunk, would be from a pricing aspect as well as how open the platform is to be able to get uh, pretty much the same return. How does your solution differ from something like FireEye Helix? Um, I would say the biggest difference that I would call out between something like FireEye Helix and us would be the tool agnostic capability. Again, I'll go back to why. Let me expound on that, on why it would be important for someone like you, for someone like your agencies. We come in order to help you meet requirements. We're looking at it from an aspect of we're looking at it from an aspect of there's a level of requirements in order to get to a secure environment that needs to be met. I want to be able to do this in the most tool agnostic way in order to be able to make sure that we're offering a savings to our customers, and we're not just trying to sell them another tool. Um, this actually came in play if you follow the way that defend the CDM and DefendF has actually been operating. Within our platform, we actually have the ability to perform vulnerability management, vulnerability to actually administer and perform the vulnerability management on your behalf, and which not only gives you the visibility, but it gives you that those vulnerability managers that can help manage that overall process to drive down your footprint and risk inside of the environment. For one of our customers, through our virtual CISO, we were directly supporting them with their migration and move over into CDM DefendF. And DefendF actually has a really they once the different once the in the most recent iteration of that contract, they were given a really good offering, like, hey, we have Qualys that we're able to provide to your agency at no cost. And what that does is it completely removes the need to administer that Qualys agent. So in conjunction with the CDM program and the agency, what we're able to do is okay, we can remove that tool out of the offering and find a way to integrate in with the CDM program, so that way the agency still gains the benefit of the vulnerability, the actual personnel that's supporting that vulnerability management process. because while DHS is providing the tool, the thing that they're doing additional is giving you access to be able to um, is to be able to they give you access uh, to use the tool. You still need the vulnerability managers. They're not there to actually do the vulnerability management process for you. So we're able to work with them to work that process out of, hey, how do we offer this in a tool agnostic way to be able to get to the same end goal of meeting the requirements. And to be more, even a more direct example of that would be something like Microsoft Defender ATP. A lot of agencies already have the E5 license. We're not going to come in there and say, hey, you need to utilize our EDR tool in order to solve this. What we're doing is we're implementing what you already have in place in order to answer to a process that needs to be answered. Yes, absolutely. Qualys is exactly how you report the CISO. That's what they're using in the CDM program, and that's the reference that I was making as far as uh as far as that integration and not being tool centric but tool agnostic. Jessica, I would love to hear you go a little bit more into the removal. So, so as I mentioned, we do perform the real time remonitoring and response. So you gain that MDR services as part of the SOC as a services. Okay, got you. So you do gain that real time monitoring and response. So that the XDR MDR services through utilizing our platform, and um, and that's for via agent based as well as possibly putting an appliance based platform in place if needed to, depending on what your architectural design looks like. And we kind of talked through this a little bit in our in as we was going back and forth via the chats, talking about the incident response process. One of the thing that we do is we're getting in there in a agnostic way in order to answer to a process that needs to be that has to be covered down on. And this is the and we we're not reliant on, hey, utilize our tool. If you have something in place, what we're doing is we're building those connections in order to integrate with what's already in place to answer to the requirements. To date, by because our platform is based off of Elastic, we currently have more than 700 integrations that we're able to integrate with, from Palo Alto to Microsoft Defender ATP, and the list goes on. And then ETL processes as well that gives that ability. Let's say if you already had a SIM in place and the thing that you only needed was the 24/7 coverage from a tier one perspective for response. We also have the integration capability to be able to take in those logs, our logs, our alerts directly into the solution, so that way someone can get eyes on glass within your platform, because we have both the Elastic and Splunk experts on staff. So. And this kind of goes over exactly what I made reference to earlier. Whenever I said the way that we do our account management in the SOC structure is you really get a talent pool, like you get a large talent pool of professionals. That's, hey, this is the thing that they do. This is their profession and what they enjoy to do. From incident responders to vulnerability engineers on, that's directly supporting your account. Um, and the person that's directly interacting with you is our virtual CISO who have ISSO experience, ISSO level experience, at least within the federal environment. So, and we found that structure to be very, very, very beneficial to being able to be proactive inside of the environment. So it's 12:41. I'm going to walk through a quick demonstration as well. Everybody see my screen okay? Awesome. All right. So our Singularity, you get to our Singularity platform. As I mentioned, so we're currently finishing. As I mentioned, we're currently finishing up like our FedRAMP package as we speak right now, where we're currently at the stage of, of getting with the FedRAMP PMO office to go through the SAR debrief. So within the next 30 days or so, we will have the be completely FedRAMP. The solution itself actually comes in twofold. Two separate modules. One of them is that continuous monitoring module that we've been talking around that does the SOC as a service support, and the other one is our DevSecOps offering. And this right here is an example of putting that security on to make sure make sure we're secure, right? Put the MFA on. So as you see, like one of them is our DevSecOps offering. We didn't go into that at all today, but it's to build that process if your organization does app security and have a lot of apps and things that that they're responsible for. It adds pretty much all the processes and tool sets that could help with establishing a DevSecOps process in a managed environment. The other component is that vSOCK and currently and as mentioned earlier, the vCISO. So I'll start with the vSOCK. Within our vSOCK, you being that it's coming to you in a managed environment. One of the things that we aim to do is, hey, let's put the pertinent information in front of that CISO or CIO that's needed to be known about their environment. So here's an example of the dashboard where, hey, within the SOC, here's the current events in the environment, here's the incidents, and some of the proactive things that are being hunted for within the environment this month. As depending on the environment, how active your account is, this right here could grow very, very much. So if you were, let's say, if you had to get in here, we ended up building in a query builder that allowed, that allow us to go in, let's say, hey, I needed to see what all incidents we actually had to answer to, or events we had to answer to related to Office 365. We're going to build a query and then go in order to locate it. Let's see. To Office. And there's the demo guides. We'll try later. Other parts of the dashboard would be active incidents that are being looked at as well as previous incidents. What this this right here rides on this right here also rides on Elastic, so it is like it is completely automatable. It is completely automatable in order to build up, like, hey, what are the current incidents inside of the environment, In addition, we do some web scraping in order to give some high level intelligence that are currently out there that's being reported out to the public. And then and then a view of, hey, what's my current posture, current risk posture whenever it comes to vulnerabilities. What does the vulnerabilities currently look like in my environment, and the trends that are actually being followed. And then we go into the details for the top 50 vulnerabilities in order, as a CISO, hey, maybe I need to put focus on this right here because it's gonna have the biggest impact within my environment if I removed in design. And then moving over to the virtual CISO, within our virtual CISO dashboard is actually where this is actually where we have our point management capability. Within that point management, within that point management, um, let's go to actually let's start here with how the platform works with adding the poems. So once you go into poem tracking, um, and you're doing your regular occurrence of poem meetings, like, hey, I need to add this poem, come in, hit add. It has all of the necessary fields for you to fill out as needed, and even add in even the ability to add information in, and so screenshots around the findings if needed, for example. Whenever you come back, whenever you come back to it, like in this case, this poem is is at this status closed. You're able to come in. You can directly download from the platform, or first place up, but now you can download from the platform and take a look at. Hey, let me see exactly what the artifacts are that identified that poem being closed. Inside of this demo environment, we don't actually have the security logs active, but what if it was active? What these are for is to allow you as a CISO, because one of the like one of the direct responsibilities is, let's take for example, uh, monitoring. Hey, is my making sure is my HR is is this HR person accessing this financial data and they shouldn't be? A lot of times that type of information that's known, that's intimate information that's known by the agency. So being able to get eyes on that type of being able to get eyes on this right here, it allows for you to do regular reviews of those log-ons or log-offs in order to meet some of your ATO requirements. And the system itself is built to be like in a multi-tenanted fashion. So, for example, if for example, if your agency manages multiple environments outside of your GSS, you're able to set it up to where you have that point management for each one of those systems, and visibility for each one of those systems if that's needed. All right. Um, let's go back to any questions. Is there any questions about the dashboard or something that you wanted me to dive into a little bit more? So that does conclude the presentation. That does conclude what's inside of the presentation. And hold on, any reporting functionality, report builder export. Yes. So actually, I should have shown that within that poem. Let's see. Let me reshare. like my screen is showing. So currently, one of the things that, like right here in the point management section, you're able to directly export this into an Excel spread, into a spreadsheet. So like, let's say you're going through your assessment, we have the export functionality, so that way you can export that point in time for that assessment, and it completely follows all requirements, has all the required information in order to be a compliant point, uh, unique point IDs, controls, etc. As long as you put the information in appropriately within the system itself, you're able to export a compliant point. As I mentioned, so being an advanced tech company, one of the things that we've actually started looking into and going down with the system, one of the things that we actually started going down and looking into with this system is, because I see the next question is asking about GSA, is looking into OSCO. So as we started building out that section, whenever it came to the point management, we actually started, we also looking into, currently started the development around the head, utilizing the headless CMS in order to allow for, in order to help us get to a OSCO integration, so that way we can completely automate that process uh, whenever you think about that whole ATO process. So we're in addition, so we are currently on GSA. We have all five hack sends, um, we have all five hack sends, cloud sends, etc. And we are in the process of listing, having this listed on our GSA schedule as well. Yes, yes. So the data that's the data that's inside of Singularity, you are able to export it and get it into other tools such as Tableau. Um, so you got, as you know, you there's heavy data retention requirements that's coming down the pipe for all federal agencies. So the what we're doing inside of our platform is we actually came up, we're actually storing the data, um, we're actually storing the data currently for up to 180 days, but it's configurable beyond that. Our The structure, whenever you start moving from hot, cold, etc., is taking into account like what needs to be uh, at, accessed in real time, what's commonly accessed, and then the data that we need to, we may just need to get to for back investigations. That's actually stored into a data lake within the platform itself. So we're able to we will be able to um, to to massage that data and build the ETLs in order to help support with any visualizations that you're looking for on the front end. And the shared service contract uh, for the small agencies, that would be GSA, but we're also an 8A we're also an 8A firm, which to date there hasn't been many, there hasn't been, like, as a small agency, that does give you the ability to acquire the services under that within a very expedited fashion. Actually, one of the handouts that I have inside of the room is how you can utilize the 419.8 in order to get a direct award um, underway to be awarded within like 5 days.